Welcome everybody, it is now episode 16 of the Unchained Vodcast, our last episode of this season. We didn't really design this thing with seasons, so it's going to be a totally random number of episodes, but we have decided to take a short break after this episode. We're going to miss one episode, it's not going to be a very long break, so it's like 3 weeks since we do the episodes every other week. We're going to miss one episode so that we can have some time to talk about next season, plan out our episodes and everything, and hopefully give CSE some time to put out some, Beta 1 stuff and everything for us to talk about.
Like Beta 1, for example?
Maybe. It would be nice. It would be cool. I'd like that. It'd also just give us a little bit of break.
Maybe drop the NDA so we can talk about things.
I don't expect that to be for a while, but...
No. Yeah.
But for now, we're here once again, drinking our boxed wine. I see Krakatoa. Krakatoa Crazy Crafter is with me. Wine. He's with me. For today, to steal a bit of Mark Jacobs' line, when is a puzzle amazing? When it's a map! And that's what we're talking about today, is the map in Camelot Unchained. And not just talking about the map, because, it's a map. We're more going to be looking for and talking about different ideas and different ways that the way that they're doing the map, or the ways that they could do the map, could really contribute to the gameplay, could really make it more interesting, make it more versatile. I should really start my video. There we go. I forgot the video in the center of the vodcast there. I was going to have that playing as we were going, and I just realized it was sitting there doing nothing. So now y'all can enjoy watching some sword modeling while we talk. So first thing I'm going to do is just overview what we know about the map for people that may not have watched the reveal about the map and the game's map and everything. Just a quick overview. Then we're going to talk about 3 different kind of subject areas, 3 categories of where there might be ideas for different ways the maps can be cool. First is the layout of the map. How positioning things can be important. How positioning things can contribute or maybe detract from the overall gameplay. How transportation on the map and across the map, different ways that they could do that could maybe contribute towards the gameplay. And terrain, different ways to use the terrain to, again, make the gameplay awesome and unique. So for the first thing, I got some notes here. Disco Ninja Frog, welcome. I got a few notes here just to overview what we know about the map. Pretty much, it's a big puzzle full of islands that kind of fit together. They're spread out. As a realm takes control of an island, it will move it slowly closer to their realm so they can kind of consolidate things into a landmass. There will be stabilizers of some sort on the different islands that you can take control of, and those will help to control the movement back and forth as they're taken and then reclaimed, and so on and so forth. There will also be bridges and or boats of some sort to go back and forth to transport across the water between the islands.
Sea monsters.
Yes, potentially giant sea serpents. And we know that each realm will have a safe zone where, of course, they spawn, and they, just to keep a kind of an unconquerable zone to get into. Did I miss anything?
Yes, the most important. What's going to be right in the center of all that?
Of course. Camelot is fragmented, we presume, in the map. I guess it should be worth noting that, of course, there will also be places of power scattered about across the map. Yes. There will be different terrains. As realms conquer a zone, it will change. The climate of that map will change some to match their realm, so that, like, if the Tuatha take an island, the types of flowers and trees and everything will change to kind of look like their realm more. Same thing for everybody else. And of course, beneath all this, there are the depths, but don't want to really get into that too much, because that's a whole different thing.
Subject.
That we know almost nothing about. So, lots of different biomes, lots of different islands, lots of different ideas they've got going up for how to make this map cool and awesome. And so today, we're talking, how do they make it more awesomer? That's right, I said that, more awesomer.
Yeah. No comment on that.
So the first thing is the layout of the map. Basically, what ideas y'all in chat and Chris have, and me, about how they can lay out the map to either contribute or create new gameplay or even reduce problematic gameplay.
Well, the first thing is we're going to have to see how far each island starts from each other. Because
it's very important.
Because the transport between maps adds some time, non-fighting time, and kind of, as some people would say, useless time spent traveling. I wouldn't mind that if the travel system is really awesome, like the sea monster we saw, like the sea serpent we saw. I would be okay. Well, I would be okay the first few times. On the 20th trip, it might get old also. But yeah, the distance is going to be a huge factor.
Yeah,
beginning with.
That's also something they can do balancing wise with sieges. If the game, as the game progresses, if they decide, well, people are moving across the map too fast, they're able to hit some of these long range enemy keeps a little too quickly, they can simply increase the distance between the islands a little bit, and add an extra minute to your travel time across the map. To kind of help defenders out if they decide that people, offense is going a little too well.
Yeah. Fair enough, Halfgar.
Yeah, the travel in EverQuest certainly can't compete to it. Honestly, I kind of hope I've said before, I hope that travel time is one of the main death penalties in the game.
Yes.
I think that's an important part of the game. I would prefer to see a game where people die less often, but when you die, it's harder to come back. You have to regroup and move together.
Have a real penalty for death, and it makes also as we said, the sieges better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the travel time, I don't want to see. I at the time it was amazing. I have really good memories of that. I don't want to see an EQ level travel time where you had to wait 30 minutes for the boat, and then you had 50 minutes travel from one island to the other.
It does seem a bit excessive, yes.
Yeah, that's excessive. But at the same time, going from an island to the other, if it takes 5-10 minutes, I would be okay with that. 5-10 might be a bit too much, but 5 minutes for an island that you haven't controlled in quite a while, so is very much in the enemy territory. You need to have some travel time because it's farther from your realm. So of course.
Yeah. We'll get to travel. I don't want to. I was gonna say something about that, but I don't want to until we get into transportation. So
basically, the island's distance.
I'll save that.
I think the way the islands move should be more dynamic. Not the islands should start moving the moment the attacking realms gets the upper hand. Not wait until they have conquered the place of power or the stable either.
Though that does depend on whether or not they can have dynamic island movement or whether it will have to load in periodically.
Yeah, like during the daily reset.
Yeah, I hope it would move more often than the daily reset. But
I hope too.
But that's something they'll have to figure out. How do they move, and how do you move an island without messing up all the people that are on the island?
At the same time, they did say they can change the biomes dynamically while players are in the game. So if they can change the biomes, they should be able to move the island.
Are people having problems with the stream? No, it's working for me.
Yeah, it's working for me.
Might have to refresh. Sometimes Twitch goes wonky. One thing related to the distance between islands, and at least whereas attacking and defending goes, is that I thought of that they can do with placement of the map is to make sure that each safe island has, I would say, at least 3 exit points onto other islands, so they don't all just go to one island. It goes to at least like 3 nearby islands. That way, if an offensive group does come all the way across, they can't just pin you in there. Because that's something we've seen in various games at various points. And if it's a thing that's possible to do, an enemy force will do that. They will marshal a big group, march all the way to your side, and then just camp right at your exit and block you in. And even if they can't hold it, they can do it long enough to have somebody else siege one of your keeps.
Yeah.
Yes, Oldovic, we are talking about how to make the map awesome.
Yeah, no, at least 3 exit points should be the minimum. And by exit points, since at the beginning it's going to be just an island, at least 3 ways to get out of the island. It doesn't have to be 3 exact exit points, but maybe 3 boat routes.
That's kind of what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thought is, and they kind of had this on the map that they showed us in the reveal, so I'm assuming they're thinking along these same lines as well. As the territories go in, the islands should be progressively smaller. So that the largest islands are on the outside. And what I feel this would do is, when enemies are moving forward and trying to capture islands, it'll make the islands... Well, it'll make the islands that are closer to your realm harder for them to capture because they're larger. Yes. There's more territory they have to take over. Whereas the ones in the middle are smaller, and it'll kind of focus people's attacks towards the middle instead of trying to backcap people.
And backcapping will be a lot harder because the time it takes to take the island would mean that you have time to go back and defend it.
Yeah, we've got people talking about when beta is coming out. I will pause to at least address that and say, they've got the internal testing of abilities going on right now in the internal test server, so I haven't seen it. But I'm expecting July.
At
the best,
beginning of July.
I'm expecting at earliest the very end of June or sometime in July. Well, Fantanos, you're talking to Zadrid about it, so that makes you people.
And Oldovic, that's one thing that hasn't been addressed, so we're not sure exactly. I hope it doesn't have to come to that, because that would be too much tunnel gameplay for my taste. I would think it would be better that since each island is separate, you shouldn't have to go through all the islands. If you want to try to backcap the island right next to the save point, that's your choice, and you should be able to make that choice and try to do it.
I will say,
I don't think you should have to capture the islands one after the other.
I will say, and for the recording, Oldovic asked if you have to capture islands in order, or if you can go around and capture an island on the other side or something. I will say 2 things to that. One, I think you'll be able to cap it. Whether or not you can move it to your territory is a slightly different matter, because there's other islands in the way. How would you? But to kind of address that, I don't remember where this was posted or where they said this, but I want to say that it was kind of suggested that through the maybe you have to channel power of some sort through the stabilizers to pull things to your other islands, and through some sort of resource allocation or something. And so that suggests to me that maybe you won't have to go island to island to island, but you will have to have some connection. So maybe you could go island and then an island over here and then another island instead of going straight through. And then that would pull them all over kind of this way or something. Maybe. But yeah, we don't really know for sure.
And I like the idea that you don't You don't have to pull the island closer to you if you have islands in the middle, because that could also be a strategy to cap an island that is close to one of the safe zones to make the enemy focus on that island while you take over and pull closer the smaller ones while they're fighting for the big one.
Another thing that would be interesting is if you didn't have to have like you just said, you didn't have to have a continuous stream going to your safe island of this power or whatever you had pulling them. If instead, like maybe it was emanated from a particularly large keep, you could generate resources or power from there. So then you could advance a few islands, build a really strong keep, defend it, get it going, and then begin pulling islands into that one to create kind of your own little landmass in the middle.
That could work too.
One other thing with the islands and the size of the islands that I was thinking of is it would be nice, despite the islands getting smaller towards the middle, if the center island or islands were also kind of larger, the ones basically holding Camelot, so that those are a bit more of a more difficult objective. Those are something that everyone's going to be pushing into anyway. They're all going to be fighting over the middle, and it's not so easy to just grab one or two little islands there and pull them together, because you've got bigger land masses with all these fragments of the ruins of Camelot or whatever on them. Because one of my concerns with the game is still the sense of, there's no end game, but like the sense of in-game accomplishment, the sense of having like the final achievement where you're like, oh, we did the undoable. And so I feel like having like larger, really hard to conquer islands in the middle might give some of that, because then you can always strive to, we want to consolidate them and reunite the city and pull that into our side and then go, we've done it. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, we've reunited Camelot. Although, I must say, it's a bit sidetracked, but if somebody actually pulls that off, I want it to generate a huge Veilstorm, making the thing explode again with different types of islands, completely changing the map again.
I think someone at CSC probably just went, I have a migraine now. I sense a disturbance in the force and I don't like it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That just hurt my brain. We haven't talked about transportation yet, Thanatos. That is the next thing, unless someone else has something about layout of maps.
I like the, a bit different, but Disco Ninja Frog said that they could have different shapes for the islands in each map, in each server.
Yeah.
So if you're bored of the map layout, you can change server. I would like actually the islands to change shape at some point in each server, because it might be difficult to pull off and to code in, but yeah, I would like maybe the islands will change position anyway.
Yeah.
Based on the change of ownership, but the actual layout, so the actual shape of the islands changing at some point.
I think the only problem with that is balance. Because, if they go in, they make a well-balanced map where each realm has kind of balanced terrain and everything. And they've gone and they've tested it to make sure people can't get in places they're not supposed to be and everything. Then they go and redo the whole map. I could see it being a thing that's feasible, but I could see it being something they couldn't do very often, like maybe once every couple of years just to freshen up the map.
Yeah.
Because, kind of like Cataclysm style. We're just going to go revamp the map a little bit. Boom, Veilstorms, and we change things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because otherwise, that would be a pretty monumental effort, I think, to have to do that. Especially if they did it server by server.
Yeah. I'm not saying every month or something like that, but maybe once a year or once every 2 years would be pretty nice, I think.
And now, when it comes to travel and transportation, you were talking about the distance between islands, and I think I have a slightly different concept of how they mean to do travel. I don't really know how they mean to do travel, of course, but to me, I've been picturing more island hopping. Island, like you get to this island and then you go over and then you have to get on another serpent or a ship or something to get to the next island. I definitely don't think there should be like a 5-minute delay from island to island, if they're right next to, if they're kind of next to each other, maybe that's like a 1 to 2 minute thing. You're going, I'm riding, and we're at the next island. But it is possible. I mean, there's nothing that would stop them from necessarily making longer roundabout sea routes or something where a serpent might take you around past 3 or 4 islands and then take you to another point.
No. Well, you could have direct transport to some islands. For example, building a terminal.
Yeah.
A dock for your sea serpent to dock in. Then you can create a route from the safe island to there. Or from 2 islands, but the default one, the NPC ones, I think it should be from island to island. You couldn't have a direct transport to the farthest island you have.
That was actually one of my notes on my piece of paper, is because they've talked about bridges and they've talked about serpents or boats or something.
Mm-hmm. Some means of transportation.
Yeah, and it seems to me that having boats or serpents or something like that doesn't entirely make sense unless players can build docks. Unless you can build some kind of a dock-like structure and then go, oh, now we keep our boats here, which then gives an RVR objective because the enemy might want to come and trash your docks, which would totally make sense.
That means
it's faster transport.
You're cut off the island. You're cut off the island for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably still, as you said, use like the NPC boats. You can go island to island, but maybe the docks will allow faster transport from farther away over either a big boat or a sea serpent of some sort. Because alternatively, it seems to make more sense to use bridges. Like if it's just island to island, then have people build bridges. Which then
depends on how far the islands are from each other.
Yeah. You have to claim it and you have to bring it in. They've kind of mentioned that before. Exactly. You can bring it in and then maybe build a bridge from one to the other. I was actually wondering if maybe it might be ideal for bridges to be another way to consolidate control. You claim the stabilizers, you bring them in close, and then maybe building a bridge also makes it take longer for them to claim control of the island back.
Because they would have to destroy the bridge first before starting to pull the island off. Yeah,
you have a secure anchor holding it there, and of course you can quickly run troops back and forth across the bridge. It might slow their capping process over stabilizers or something, or they may have to just come in and literally destroy the bridge to make it move again.
Exactly.
Which would then be cool because they could take all the stabilizers on the island, and you could just plant yourself on the bridge and be like, "No, you're not taking our island. We are fighting on this bridge for the next 3 hours. You can't do it."
Well, Disco Ninja Frog, that's what we kind of were saying, is you would have to destroy the bridge first before you can move the island, basically.
Yeah, I could, like I said, I could see alternatively if they didn't want to do it. That I think that would be cool.
If you started pulling the island,
alternatively,
the bridge fall off.
Well, I think it would be cool if they had to destroy the bridge, because then that could lead to some really cool bridge fights. But alternatively, what they could do is just have it so that if there's a bridge, then maybe it takes longer to cap the stabilizers because they're linked to there's a physical thing holding them there. And then if you still manage to cap the stabilizers, it does pull them apart, and the bridge just into the sea or whatever.
That would be fun too. Yeah.
Magical bridges would be cool, Odovic.
No, magical bridges don't exist. Bridges are crafter built.
What if you could craft magical bridges? Like magical upgraded bridges.
As long as the crafter make them, I'm fine with that.
I'm not talking like energy bridge, like freaking from Thor. I'm not talking about that. But maybe like I don't know, like some kind of a like sea serpent bridge. It comes up like a monster or something. It's like and then it attaches together or something. I don't know. That would be cool. Something that seems more feasible to be holding it together. Big giant earth elemental bridge. It has its own defensive bonus.
That's fine by me.
Let's see. What else I've got here? I do like the idea of having bridges as battlefield objectives. I also like the idea of having boats. We talked about this on our guild forum a little bit too recently. Yeah. The idea of having boats or the serpents as combat possible. Really, we were debating whether or not to have naval combat, which I don't want to get super into here.
Well, they did say that if it ever happens, it's gonna be a long way down the road anyway.
Yeah. More what I'm thinking of here is I would like to be able to either at least fire off of and onto the boats when they're going across, so that you can see people coming and you can just start unloading with catapults and go, no, get off our island.
I would like to, if you do that, and because they did say there's a good chance we have sea monsters instead of boats to transport us, that if you fire and miss and it touches the serpent attacks you.
Oh, I would love for the serpent to be able to attack people, or for you at least to have, like, maybe you can have upgraded serpents with catapults on them, on their backs and stuff, so you can start firing back at them.
I like more the idea of the serpent spitting on you, basically.
Oldovik, it's magic, that's why. I guarantee you, if you ask Mark Jacobs why the islands float, he's going to say because it's magic.
Well, no, because islands float. They do. The magic is only to pull them closer.
Some islands are attached.
Yeah, some.
They're mountainous outcroppings. But yeah, the last thing. Or does anybody have any other ideas about transportation before I move on?
In chat.
Was there something else? Who's going to tame the sea monsters or catch them in the first place? It is a good question. Because that is kind of I mean, they've mentioned it, but it's like, where do the sea monsters come from? Do we just pull them out of the Veil and we're like, no, these are Veil sea monsters for some reason? Crafters should not make sea monsters. I'm sorry. Crafters can't have everything.
How the fuck do you make a sea monster as a crafter?
That would lead into a whole new branch of crafting that, honestly, I would like to see. Homunculi, monsters, you could just create all kinds of stuff. It would be amazing. But then I think that's going to lead into too much PvE combat, so maybe we shouldn't do that. However, in the depths, they have talked about having summoning points that would summon monsters to fight for you against invaders and stuff, and do kind of that tower defense thing. So it could be that crafters could just build some sort of summoning platform or something that summons the sea monster. That's possible too.
Well, we know it's gonna be in the lore. If it's sea monster, it's gonna be in the lore. But since we're almost 100% sure that it's gonna be NPC handled, like the NPC caravans, we're not gonna have any mechanic to call the monster. They're basically gonna be at their dock until you commission them to transport somebody.
It's pretty simple. The crafters will simply build thumpers. The spice must flow.
Not for the water. I challenge you to bring one of the worms into the water.
These are different worms. These worms like water. I couldn't help thinking that when we saw the not fan art, but the concept art for those showing the giant sea worm. I was like, I am the Kwisatz Haderach. I will ride the great worm. Alright. So the last category of weird, cool things they can maybe do with the map comes down to terrain. Different ways that they can kind of use the terrain to make the map more interesting and unique. We know that the terrain will kind of change in appearance based on who caps it, who controls it. My main thing that I really want to see is I want there to be natural choke points that we can build on, that we can build in, and I think those should probably be more plentiful in the islands closer to the safe realms, because again, it boosts defense, it makes them harder to cap for your enemies. And fighting in choke points is fun.
We're supposed to have free building.
In theory.
We're supposed to be able to build pretty much anywhere. Supposed to. That's
the dream.
Yeah. But if it happens, yeah, definitely choke points where you can build on. I doubt it's gonna happen, and I'm actually pretty sure it's not gonna happen. But I would love to see not just the biome changing, but the terrain mapping changing, having a bit more hills and slopes in some of the biomes, a bit more flatland, for example, for the Arthurians, things like that, a bit more plentiful trees, darker, deeper forests for the TDDs, things like that, rather than just the color of the trees and of the grass changing.
Yeah, my only problem with that is I just don't know how they would code it. I mean, I don't know I don't know a ton about game design, but what little I do know, I'm like, that sounds complicated. That sounds either very difficult, or what they would have to do is have pre-designed alternate versions of every island, so that once it's capped, it just shifts over. And that sounds like it's kind of counter to what they're trying to do by making the terrain very dynamic. Also, I don't know how that would work with players being on the islands and the buildings and stuff, because then buildings get moved and
that's why I said it's almost impossible. But I would love to see it.
Draneth, no one waits for Draneth. You are late. Talking about building. One thing I do want to see, I know we've said it before, but I really want to see building being possible on pretty much anything and anywhere instead of pre-established plots. I think it's really important for the game, because I really want to see people able to build, watchtowers up on hills, firing places up on mountainous areas, closing up choke points. There's just a lot of gameplay variety that I think we can really create in the game simply by being able to build anywhere that we want. Of course, it can be cheesy too, but they can always come in and decide something's cheesy and then wipe it off the map if they really want to. And they've said before they have to make a way to prevent people from completely blocking off a passage, so that you can't cheese your own realm by blocking off a pass, so you can't go through there.
They don't want 12 walls in the choke point. They're gonna prevent that from happening, or 6 feet deep walls that you can never break. And even then, a lot of those choke points and a lot of those cheesy tactics are going to be prevented by the system itself.
Smash them with a hammer.
To make those 6 feet thick walls, you need enough materials to make that.
It's true.
Just that is going to prevent a lot of the cheesy tactics for blocking people.
I think a lot of that will also come down to terrain ownership, how you claim a plot, who can build on the plot. I hope that we were going to have plots only on the safe island, where the space is limited. I think there'll have to be plots. Not preset plots. I mean, kind of like they had in Landmark, where you go over there, you plant your flag, and then you have a certain space that you can build it, that your guild or whatever can build in as your plot. And combine them. And then other people can't come over while you're in the middle of building and just go, hey, I built a house right here, and then they run off. Because that would suck. That would definitely suck. But being able to claim a certain space in the world, not a predefined one, but saying, okay, I have that square is mine. Nobody else can, or nobody else, unless I allow it, can build on it. Nanolak had a good... And then guilds can combine their plots to make the player-crafted cities, player-built cities. Nanolak had a good idea that they could do, which is to build realm roads and just not allow people to build over the road. So maybe there would be a certain space wide and high around the road that you couldn't build on to guarantee egress through certain parts of the map. Especially from the safe zone, so that you couldn't just build a wall across there to we know that there's control your own realm. Predefined caravan routes. So those should be with building disallowed on that and completely disabled. I would think it would be cool if it was say this is a predefined route and you can't build for 8 blocks wide and 6 blocks high so that any character or caravan or anything can get through there, but you could still build like an arch over it or anything to build a wall and kind of do stuff like that. That would be pretty cool.
Areas. Well, you could probably, if you claim the area and builder on it, you should be able to name it.
That's kind of a discussion. At one point, I still really like the idea of CSE naming certain things on the map. Like, I still think it would be a really cool idea if they took, you know, some of the battles and stuff from beta testing, and maybe there was a really big battle, and so they came and named like a hill after that battle or something.
Yeah.
I still think that would be cool just for legacy-wise, just so people can go back and be like, that was cool. Yeah, that was that thing that happened in beta. Not everyone agrees with me, though. I will just say that.
No, I like the idea of the private jokes names. Or
and I do like having. I really like it when devs put like their own little Easter eggs and stuff in maps and games and stuff. Yeah,
just like in ESO when we had the Chalamo, and you had a bard recounting that battle in the final game. That was awesome.
I had a whole story written up for it. All right. One other thing that I thought of, which actually kind of goes to your map redesign thing a little bit, but not really, because I was kind of going a different tact with it. One thing I would like to see, which we have not seen at all in the concept, in like not the concept art, we have kind of seen the concept art, but we haven't seen it at all in any of the map modeling they've been doing. The game's post-apocalyptic. I want to see some post-apocalyptic terrain. Now, I know having a whole island of desert is boring. I played PlanetSide 2 and PlanetSide 1, and there was an ice planet, and everyone pretty much hated it. It was boring and dull. So I'm not talking about a whole planet of ice or desert or so on and so forth. What I'm thinking is more have areas of certain islands that might still be devastated, or even sometimes whole islands, like smaller ones that are totally devastated, that aren't supportive of life, that are maybe strategically important, but they have problems with them that make the combat there more interesting. So maybe one big island is tactically important between the Vikings and the Arthurian realms, but it's prone to earthquakes. And so when you go on there, maybe there's like weird earthquake effects, or maybe there are like fissures that open and can swallow people. Maybe they're like maybe there's like
Veilstorm Island.
Maybe there's I'm not even thinking about Veilstorms. Maybe there's like sand traps that'll slow movement when you get caught in them. You can't tell they're there, but you start walking, then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, we found the sand trap. Maybe the Arthurians know they're there and they've set up a trap and they're waiting for you to walk into it. Maybe there are volcanic eruptions. Fun. Maybe there's like a mountain and all of a sudden it starts spewing fire over part of the map and everyone's like, oh god, it burns!
Shit. Run!
Maps with weird weather patterns, extreme cold, extreme heat that might have penalties or damage or anything.
Yeah.
Basically, environmental hazards, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I would like to see some post-apocalyptic stuff that have actual like random environmental hazards that players could just happen into. And I wouldn't want that across the whole map, I don't think. I wouldn't want that across every island in the game, because that might get really old. You're marching, and then all of a sudden, oh no, it's the random earthquake again. But if you know, this island's useful, but that island, I freaking hate the lava spewing out.
like the island that has some of the best materials on it.
Yeah, and
you can get overland.
You know what you're getting into.
It's like the best fire-resistant materials to build your fire-resistant. Like for example, for the Viking, you need fire-resistant armors to resist our fire mages. So you need to go there to get the material, but you know that there's going to be eruptions there. You know that you're at the disadvantage there because there's, I don't know, lava traps or whatever. Yeah, you have to go there. I like that idea, yeah.
Nano mentioned Fog of War, which would be cool, having it so that scouts could reveal things, and scouts could, again, for the natural hazards, maybe scouts could go in and identify those. So if you're trying to go in there to get resources, maybe if you're trying to go in there to get resources, a scout can sneak in and be like, "Oh, dude, There's a geyser over here that's going to spew scalding hot water all over the place.
I know.
We want to avoid that. We want to not go into that. And make them like mining nodes where they kind of move around occasionally too, and they just they're not always necessarily in the same place. It's basically natural traps without a crafter. That's basically what it'd be like. But the fog of war thing,
unfriendly habitat.
The fog of war thing is kind of my last idea on this. Weather effects. Kind of a map thing, kind of not. I think they've even kind of mentioned maybe a possibility of having something like this, where snow or rain or fog may obscure your vision. It may come in and it may reduce your stability so you get knocked down easier or interrupted more easily.
Yeah.
I don't hate crafters, you just can't do everything. Okay, I talked for a bit. You have any terrain ideas?
No, I actually like the weather effects. It would have to have effects depending on the realms also. I think it should be one of the byproducts of the biome.
Maybe,
a TDD biome would have more humidity, making the fire mages at a disadvantage.
Vikings have hailstorms.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're used to getting rocks thrown at them for healing, so hailstorms might be okay.
I'm at full health. What? Oh.
But yeah, the weather effects being one of the byproducts, because aside from the visual change, there's not a lot of advantages of having your own biomes. So the weather effect being, like for example, for the Arthurians, having wind that can help for your the range of your abilities, things like that. Something that is a bit more advantageous for the realm that owns the biome might be good.
Though with the terrain changes that comes with claiming the realm, there could also be magical bonuses like that.
Yeah.
The Vikings turn it into a colder environment, so maybe the closer it is to Viking territory, the more bonus their frost mages get to damage. The same thing with the Tuatha and the Arthurians. The Arthurians, it warms up more, and so the fire mages can generate more damaging fire or something to kind of boost damage closer to their defensive realm. So in the middle, it's not going to make any difference. But if somebody dives deep into your territory, well, your mages are going to be doing, more fire damage and stuff, so they're going to be a little easier to push them out.
Yeah, I like the idea of the weather effects. I didn't think about the special terrain islands, but it could be really fun.
Yeah, I think
giving them enough importance to entice people to go there, not force them, because it could be avoidable.
Yeah.
But it's enticing enough for people to say it's worth going to the trouble of going there, trying to claim that island because of what is on there.
Yeah, either because there's resources or because it's like in the middle of almost in the middle of the map, and so you really kind of need to get there to get to Camelot and everything. It's the best island to go to get to it, so you kind of gotta. You don't have to, but it's nice. And honestly, for me, lore-wise, since everything's supposed to be destroyed, the whole point of this is that we all left Camelot because it got devastated by Veilstorms, and we retreated out, and now we're trying to go back. I'm like, why is everything so green? Shouldn't this stuff be kind of jacked up? Why is it all so pretty? I like the pretty terrain and all, but maybe some of it should still be kind of messed up. I'm just saying. Yeah. Some volcanoes or something.
It's a pretty good idea.
I like volcanic terrain anyway. Not too much of it, but a little bit of it. I think it's cool.
The thing is, volcanic would put our mages to a pretty big advantage.
Unless I'm pretty sure they die when magma falls on them, though. So.
I'm pretty sure everybody dies if magma falls on them.
Ash clouds might obstruct view, and then nobody's mages are doing well.
Yeah.
Have you discussed why the TDD are east of the Arthurians rather than west? No, we haven't.
Uh,
Of course, we don't know that that's the final product on the map
Yeah.
either. I'm
Also-
hoping it is because I've written several stories, several fanfic stories that are kind of
Yeah,
dependent
about
on that. But
yeah.
yeah, I thought you might like that, Krakatoa. Today's east is tomorrow's west. Directions no longer matter.
Well, it could be fun also if the map actually rotated regularly.
There's a polar shift, and all of a sudden everything switches around.
poles change.
It's suddenly cold in the Arthurian area. This is horrible. That could be a thing they could do, though. They could do total planetary weather shifts. It's like, say, if the Vikings are getting dominated too hard, all of a sudden there's a blizzard that covers across the entire planet for like 2 weeks, and they're just like, "Oh, that sucks, doesn't it? Enjoy your snow."
I can already hear people crying about it.
They would,
And I
yeah.
can already see the posts about that.
I'm sick of this snow. It's been 2 weeks. Maybe they should try Finite Incantatum. There are supposed to be seasons, potentially. Day and night cycle, of course, all this plays into the map, plays into the weather patterns and different ways to keep it interesting. And I especially think seasons can be cool like that. I, of course, don't think they should give anyone a particularly large advantage.
Yeah.
But, maybe the Vikings should have a little bit of an advantage in winter. Maybe the Tuatha in fall and the Arthurians during the summer or something,
Yeah.
Mix things up.
Okay, but not
too big, just a little bit.
A slight, yeah.
Change and it would also be nice if it changed the effects, the sky, maybe nights longer during the winter, of course.
Yeah.
They have said that they can do that. They can adjust the speed at the rate of the days, so maybe during winter, night comes faster and lasts longer.
Entering winter
Doesn't get quite as bright, period.
The travel time for the caravans might be longer because of the snowstorms.
Maybe. What lies beyond the map here be dragons?
Well, we know that there are dragons somewhere.
And they have kind of said that they have kind of implied that we won't really be doing like a lot with the dragons.
Yeah.
Because I had kind of suggested some stuff with that, and it definitely seemed to suggest that we won't be like petting dragons. So I still like the idea of dragons periodically just appearing and wreaking havoc and tearing down people's buildings, but
Well, I don't mind if the seasons, depending on how long the seasons, because Red Star says then, well, everyone would have a campaigning season. Depending on how long the seasons last, I'm not too bothered about having a campaigning season, because you can just hole up in your keep, working on building up on your keep, building resources, and not attacking for a couple weeks. Anything that is too far to be interesting.
And it depends on the bonuses too. I mean, if we're talking about very minor seasonal bonuses, I don't think anyone's going to wait for their season to come up in 3 weeks just so that they can then go, oh yeah, we've got a fraction of a % more damage now. Yeah, go our mages, huzzah! And I think it's more compelling for them to have effects that are universal to everyone. Like I said, maybe during winter the nights are longer, so stealth classes are kind of all better. And maybe, like you said, the travel times for caravans are slower, so everyone's got fewer resources during winter. Whereas during fall, maybe there are different effects that affect everybody.
Every realm, kind of not exactly the same way, but kind of the same way.
Yeah, and maybe, yes, somewhere in there, maybe the frost mages during winter do a tiny bit more damage or something just because of the weather. Maybe there are maybe during the summer, the Arthurian fire mages do a teeny bit more damage. I don't think there should be a ton of stuff like that. No. I don't have a problem with a little bit.
And I don't have a problem with just graphical seasons. Just to change the appearance of the biomes, basically.
Yeah, change up how the game looks a little bit.
If it doesn't have any bonus or debuffs for anybody, I'm fine with that too.
It's kind of like when
I like the idea of the game looking different and looking nice for winter or summer, just a different visual.
It's kind of like when you're playing Don't Starve Together, or Don't Starve for people that have played that. You get into summer, all of a sudden everything's a little bit brighter, kind of a little bit glaring. I don't think they would want to do that quite the entire time, but maybe there's a little bit more sunlight, night's shorter. There are some effects that are pervasive for everybody. You get into winter, all of a sudden everything has like a slightly darker tone to it. There's a little bit less ambient light over everything. Things like that could really change a little bit on how the game looks, enough that kind of keep things interesting so you're not staring at the same stuff all the time. Everybody's gonna try and milk out that tiny little percent.
There's gonna be min-maxers like in every game.
I played a bit of Eve as well, and I still like that game. And there's people that are gonna be like, oh, that 0.5% more damage. I need that in my life.
Yeah.
I personally, because of how much choice matters and everything, I think min-maxing is going to be a thing that people can totally do. And I think people are going to have so many options for min-maxing in different ways that having some small environmental bonuses occasionally aren't going to be things that are like make things totally in any direction. It's going to be something that you're like, I look forward to that, but it's not, it's not going to make or break me in any way. Just like there are people that can get bonuses to damage at night, at least with the current Banes and Boons and stuff. Maybe they can get bonuses at night or something. But
you have counterparts to that.
Yeah, you get penalties for that.
Yeah, you get penalties to damage during the day. Simple as that.
All right, so we had a good conversation about the map, different things that could be on it. Maybe somebody from CSC will watch this stuff and they'll get some ideas they haven't had, or maybe they'll be like, "No, we've got better ideas than that." They don't know.
Noobs.
But they probably don't watch these videos anymore.
Nothing.
But I want to thank everybody for coming out. We will have another episode in a number of weeks. We are taking a break from the next episode so that we can plan our next season of episodes, and I will post up when our next episode is. We're only going to skip one episode just to give us a little break. But until then, we'll see everybody then, and hopefully have some Beta 1 news.
Exactly, I was about to say that.